The Golden State Warriors, the most successful franchise of the 2010s, had 3 rings and 5 finals in the last 6 seasons. The last 2 years, they've been in a bit of a turmoil. They lost Kevin Durant and got D'Lo in 2020. The star backcourt of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson both got injured and missed the entire 2020 season. They didn't have a great team and ended last in the Western Conference as the 15th seed. They made changes by getting Andrew Wiggins and a pick, trading away D'Angelo Russell. Then, when it felt like they were going to get running in the 2021 season, Klay Thompson got injured and got out for the season again. To try and make up for it, they traded for Kelly Oubre Jr. They drafted Wiseman with their second pick, which people were expecting them to trade. With this, they came into the season with not very high expectations, and rightfully so. With how packed the Western Conference was, the Warriors were barely expected to make any noise. But one thing everyone was interested about was Wardell Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry has been mind blowing this season to say the least. He's averaging 32 points per game and 5.7 assists per game on near 50-40-90 efficiency. He's been an MVP candidate without even having a good record. He's the funnest player to watch in the league and the greatest shooter of all time. The only reason the Warriors are even competitive this year is Steph Curry. He's arguably having the best year of his career. He's the greatest off-ball player of all time, and his gravity and the number of players he draws towards him is the reason why they lead the league in assists per game right now. I'd like to remind you to leave a like now and subscribe if you haven't already. Anyway, Steph Curry is not what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about is the future of this Warriors team. So the Warriors now are probably going to make it to the play-in tournament and end up in the 7th or 8th seed just by virtue of Steph Curry's brilliance. But let's be honest, however good Curry is, they're not making it past the first round. Now this takes us to the next off season. Klay Thompson will probably be back. They have a high chance of getting a top 3 to 10 pick from Minnesota and their own pick, which will probably be in the teens. This will give them two possibilities: trading the pick for a player or a star with a package, or draft two solid young players. If they want to trade the pick, who will they trade it to? Usually, draft picks are traded to bad tanking teams who want to rebuild in return for their unhappy star. That leads to our problem. There are no unhappy stars in rebuilding teams right now. The only slightly possible player who might be available is Bradley Beal, who also doesn't look like he wants to be traded from Washington. So if they can't trade their picks for a star, which is the same problem they had this year with the Wiseman pick, they need to draft two more young players who might have potential. This will give the front office a decision to make. On one side, you have championship DNA in Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, who are in their early 30s and probably each have 2 to 4 good years left. On the other side, they have Andrew Wiggins, who's improved a lot this year, James Wiseman, who's been very raw but at the same time shown tremendous upside, and their two picks in next year's draft, which will probably be very good but raw players with how good the draft is. If they still want to compete, this team will not help them do that. Klay will probably be very good when he's back despite his injuries. Draymond has declined this year but still plays at a very high level, and Steph Curry will be Steph Curry. The team around this will not be a great fit at the system. The Golden State system is one of the most complex, high level systems in the league, which requires players to have high IQ and awareness. The young players on the team are not high IQs yet, and it really isn't their fault. Young players need to be developed and get their minutes without really having much play. Every mistake Wiseman has made this season has had much more pressure than mistakes, say, Anthony Edwards has made. And this isn't really fair for him. But at the same time, the Warriors wanted to be a playoff team and couldn't really afford those mistakes regularly, which another team like Minnesota could probably afford. When the Warriors had such a hard time with their young players this year, when they were only contending for the playoffs, imagine the pressure these players will have to face when they might be contending for a title spot. So the problem, I believe, has to be solved by the front office. They're stuck between generations and might have to make a decision. And honestly, I don't believe they can make that decision. They can't just trade away Steph Curry and Klay Thompson because it's very hard for teams to both match their contracts and equal the absurd value of these great players. Draymond Green also has a very big contract which also can't be easily matched. So they will not trade them for sure, and keeping them with the team around will not work out. So I believe it's just going to play out, and there might be a team in the hot seat for years to come. Yep, and that's all I have for you today. Leave your thoughts in the comments on what you think the Warriors should do, and leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already.